under this that you
Perfect. All right. Welcome to the green room, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another green room.
I know it's Thursday. So listen, we have a
Thursday.
great green room today because who's not interested in legal adult use cannabis, in Florida? Of course, we have medical and we'll get back to it.
Overwhelmingly, the majority of people in
The
Florida.
majority of people in Florida. We have a great guest this morning, Chris Sunshine Williams, who of course, a lot of most people know, but we'll introduce him in a moment. But listen, Chris, we always start with a little bit of politics, so feel free to chime in if and when you'd like to. But Ruta, we were saying when we came in this morning, it's about as quiet as it's been.
It's pretty quiet.
So Chris, the green room is we call it the green room because it emanated during the President Trump time, and we needed an outlet, and it's kind of been therapeutic for us. We actually have 64 green rooms.
Amazing.
What, 65 or 66 at this point?
God,
I know, it's crazy. So we've been doing it for a long time. 68 green rooms.
When we do our 100, we're gonna have to have like some big party.
Yeah, we've had tons of guests. And you, Chris, we go so far back. I mean, one of the first people that I literally met in the Florida medical cannabis world, but on the political side, it's quiet.
Yeah.
So we might as well just hop into what we want to talk about today.
We have a big week next week.
My daughter's getting married up in Ohio. So next week's green room, I may come in and do it in the morning, or maybe we'll do it. Listen, I brought a prop this morning, Chris. And listen, we can go all the way back to this time. And that's why I wanted to have you on today, because you have been intimately involved with the Florida cannabis scene from the get. And listen, what's going on now with Regulate Florida's campaign. And I know there's a second ballot initiative too. Please take it from the get-go. Explain to us where we've been, where we're at. I'm going to introduce him. So Chris Williams is one of those people that I say did it right and has been doing it right in Florida. And the reason I say that is because he got involved early. He was an advocate for the industry. He made appropriate connections and has been able to bring his genetics, which I can't wait for you to explain a little bit better, the seed stock that is that basis of the entourage effect that every cannabis consumer wants, be it medical or legal adult. All-time Florida OG, native Floridian, Chris Williams. But I hope that's a good enough intro. But a lot of people know Chris. You see the Sunshine Cannabis stuff all over the place. They do have an affiliation.
We have people all over, not only Florida. So
for sure,
we have people,
and they do have an affiliation with Trulieve. That's great. Who distributes their products, and they've had so many beautiful cultivars come out through the period of time. So Chris, there you go. Take it over and just give us a little bit more about yourself and how you got involved in cannabis and where you've been and where we're going.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gordon. And to your point, I've known you, I mean, we go back to 2013, I think, 2014, very, very, very early, before there was medical, I think we met.
You know what? I wasn't down in Florida necessarily, but I was following it. Listen, I was scrolling back through my pictures, and I think it was back in 2016, actually. So listen, I'm not as OG as you, and I'll be honest with you, Ruta, and you know this. Every OG that I have, I always give them
OG?
Original gangsta.
Oh, I'm like, because you say that a lot. I'm like, what the hell's an OG? I've never.
No, we learned.
Sorry.
Did I mess that up, Chris, or is that correct?
No, that's fine. I mean, it's funny, the OG thing. When we're talking about cannabis, or we're talking about like OG Kush, there's a lot of different iterations of that. I think there's a lot of different interpretations. My own personal one is that, we were very active back in the early days on a site called Overgrow, right? So it was Overgrow, and everyone referred to it as OG. So some of the very original OG Kush seeds that were ever spread out across the country actually went out on that site, because all the breeders, and everyone was kind of underground, and we would trade amongst ourselves. And for me, that's where the OG, like the OG Kush, I know there's different people that call it that for different reasons, but a guy actually by the name of Oregon, that he was known as Oregon Kid. He had the original clone out of Florida, and he made S1 seeds of it, and he sent them out. They were known as OGers Kush, and that's what it said on the actually on the seed packets. And I was I was a recipient of some of those. And this was in the early days. This was before there was OG Kush out west. So for me personally, when I hear OG, I think Overgrow. And for, shout out to everybody out there that knows what I'm talking about. Overgrow was definitely a birthplace of a lot of like the online, cannabis forums and the grow forums.
Awesome.
See?
What's the things we learn, you know? So I did,
Well,
I did mess it
when
up. But
people
my
started
point is, I
trading
do.
genetics,
Right.
trading
Well, I do
genetics
give props to
online.
people like Chris who have been out there from the get-go. And listen, bringing those in, and hey, listen, from the legacy market, okay, has always been such an important aspect that I know you work for and I work for. And as we go forward with any kind of legal adult use initiative, we're always cognizant of making sure that those people that have been involved from the get-go, you know, those original seed stock, and listen, I know you can talk about certain things and you can't talk about other things, to that extent. I mean, what went on 15 years ago or whatever, of course, be it in Florida or anywhere else, that was a state that was completely under prohibition. So I can only imagine the challenges.
I did a lot of illegal growing. I mean, I own it. I'm happy. Look, I don't hide the fact, if the helicopters were going to come down, if they were going to kick my door, which, I've been right there before. Hey, those times are long behind me. I think one of the reasons that I never got in trouble, so to speak, is because, I wasn't so much a grower that was growing, like growing crops commercially and selling them. I was doing a lot of breeding and seed production. And like a lot of my focus with growing was, making hybrids, was preservation. And that's kind of always the direction I took, so I wasn't necessarily like growing things to sell it, to monetize it. I mean, I've been involved.
Always indoor, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, always indoor.
When I was very young, I mean, I started outdoor. I was very young when I started, my love affair with cannabis. Luckily, I mean, for me, I feel blessed because I took that route. Whereas, growing up in South Florida, some of my friends, people I went to school with, they took a different route. They got into drugs, they got into alcohol, and a lot of them aren't here today. A lot of them are, in jail or dead. And I think cannabis, in a lot of ways, it saved me because it gave me something to do. And it gave me something that enabled me to learn. And I always had an interest in science, and the earth and medicine. My plan was to be a doctor. That was my plan was, to be a doctor when I was young. And unfortunately, we lost my father when I was 16, and we pretty much lost everything. He was a plumber. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. My mom made, $20-some thousand a year. We paid the bills. I had food on the table, but I'm by no means some rich kid, that grew up with all the, trinkets and amenities of life. I mean, I had a loving family. My mom loved me a lot and really was supportive and very
and I love your mom. She's still, of course, I've gone fishing with her, and listen, that's the thing about the cannabis family and a guy like, Chris and I, is that, and listen, everybody knows that I stand up for the medical program. But Chris also knows that I've also always been for the appropriate integration of legal adult use with safety and education and regulation appropriate, so we can bring a safe product to those that want to use it. And let's face it, with alcohol being out there, and we'll get into regulate in a second, because I know a lot of it is based upon that theory, right, of a regulated market, right, which some people are always going to be opposed to. I mean, freedom is as it is, but this bill is good. It's got home growing it, and it talks about a regulated market. But, so Chris and I, although, once again, we may come from different areas of the space, we've always played in that large sandbox of safety and regulation and education.
But like even homegrown, like I think like for homegrown, like, okay, like Chris, you started at some point, you were like into growing the plant and like experimenting and things. I mean, that's cool. And I think like, I don't know, it's a plant. Like I love farming. So for me, I'm like, why can't I grow this plant? I grow tomatoes.
So give us a little history, Chris, because I know you've been involved from the get-go. As far as the various legal adult use efforts.
We couldn't hear him because he was talking. I couldn't hear you. Did you hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
So give us the history, Chris, because I know you've been involved from the get-go and all the different, constitutional amendment efforts and things of that nature.
Sure, absolutely. And to your, to the combo before, I mean, I am a Floridian. I'm someone that was born and raised here, so, this is my home. this is something, that is somewhat of a, this was a fantasy. This was a dream come true to have legal medical cannabis in Florida. It was something that I never thought that I would see. And something that myself and Bob, Bob Guzzo, Bob Sunshine, we used to talk about literally back in like the late 90s. This was a conversation, we would joke and I would say, listen, trust me, one day, one day far off, this is going to be legal here. We're going to be able to do this legally, and we're not going to have to hide in the shadows. And, this is something that will be, an industry. And, with any industry, you do have, oversight for safety, obviously for health, preservation. I mean, as a physician, the mantra is obviously to do no harm, do no harm. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to get anybody sick, So as far as medical cannabis goes, I think that, there's a lot of red tape right now. It's a very, very strict program. There's, what I consider in many cases, even excessive guidelines. There's really not many things that we're even allowed to use, as far as any kind of, supplements, fertilizers. I mean, it's extremely, extremely strict. And that's okay because, it ensures that things are safe. It ensures that they can be consumed by the patient. And, patient safety is always first and foremost, obviously, because you've got a lot of people in the medical program who have, compromised immune systems, who may be, overcoming cancer, may have, some kind of debilitating condition. So, as far as regulation in a medical market goes, I mean, it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. There's no question. I think we can all agree that we need, third-party lab testing. Things need to be safe. They need to be clean. We need to make sure there's not mold, make sure there's not contaminants. So, that was kind of one of the things that attracted us early on to Trulieve. We were definitely talking with a couple different groups at the time. There was only a couple licensees, but, we had a couple things on the table. And obviously we were the very first brand in Florida. So Sunshine Cannabis existed before everybody. And we were
I've always been fascinated by how that happened, Chris. And I know there's various machinations that you can't talk about, but I know that we both face this to a certain extent, or those that would love to be in, right? And we all want that, horizontal aspect to a certain extent.
Yeah, so
but we have to know the landscape that we're operating in is Florida, and we have to take it in incremental steps.
Right. No. So horizontal integration would be preferable. I think that is ultimately the direction that this market will take. If not for any other reason than the demand. The pure demand of product. I mean, let's face it. Even with all of the cultivation and all of the dispensaries and all of the increased production that, all the major MMTCs, not just Trulieve, but all the big names. There's a couple here in the state. I mean, it's obviously Trulieve does sell the lion's share. They're the first licensee. They got the most dispensaries. But there's other companies too that are selling a lot of medical cannabis products, and they're growing a lot more. And still, the demand is just barely being met. So yeah. I think in an adult use scenario where you have legalization, I think that there will be pressure definitely put upon, the legislature to enact some horizontal licensing. It's something that I know that I would push for, something that I believe in. I mean, I'm obviously not new to this industry. I mean, I saw it unfold just as anyone else saw it unfold. And, the original licensees, like in the case of Trulieve, for instance, they had a license to grow low CBD or low THC, high CBD hemp. They had a license under SB 1030. So, at some point that was converted, and they were the first MMTC to receive a THC license. So in the end, it made sense for us to do business with Trulieve. We were very fortuitous. I mean, we're blessed. We're obviously very, very blessed. And, I know there's people out there who, they feel strongly, obviously, about the licensing. And, some of them even may feel strongly about us because of what we've been able to do. And to that, I would just say, we were there early. We were in the trenches. I mean, I have a lifetime, I have a history with this plant. And this is something that I love and that I believe in. My goal personally, my personal goal, which is separate from anyone else's goal that I know, from inception has always been to find a way to free the plant and for there to be home grow. I mean, it's been on the back of our shirts for years. This isn't something new that we just jumped into. This isn't something for advertising. I mean, this is really a goal. This is a core value, a belief Sunshine Cannabis, and you've seen our hashtags for years. We shall overgrow, free the plant. We've always kind of been the tip of the spear for home grow, and kind of the voice of the the little guy, because I am the little guy, right? I don't have a license, and I think that sometimes there's some confusion out there. So I'm not the big multi-gazillionaire guy. I don't have a license myself, right? I'm a small business owner. I'm a Floridian with my own homegrown brand that we were, kind of ahead of the curve, so to speak. We're at the right place, the right time. And, our entire brand is really born out of advocacy and activism. That's how everybody got to know us.
And you've given back, and I want to give props to you right now and let you promote the Regulate Florida initiative. Listen, you just donated $100,000 from Sunshine Cannabis, $100,000, everybody, from Sunshine Cannabis. Okay, yeah, I know. Seriously, to promote.
No, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
To regulate the Regulate Florida initiative. And that's why I wanted to have you on today, so you can explain a little bit about the initiative and the petitions and how people can sign them and what's in there and what's not. Right. And listen, this is not the first one. Is this the exact same petition as the original petition, Chris? And if people
Totally
signed
different.
it before,
Totally
do they have
different.
to sign it again? There's a lot of questions
Totally
and confusion
different
about
petition.
all of that. So why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, it's a totally different petition. So when I came into Regulate Florida, the original version, right, that had a lot more regulation in it, right? We're kind of where the name Regulate Florida was born from. I did not have a hand in authoring that, right? So that was something that I came into to support it, and it had a lot of things that I believed in, namely home grow, right? So I'm gonna get on board. If you want home grow, right? I agree with that, right?
What year was that original, Chris? What year was the original initiative? Was that
The original
20?
initiative, I think it was written. It was actually active, if I'm not mistaken, before we got the medical law passed here.
So even way back, right?
So there was some things, there was some provisions that kind of didn't necessarily align with with the current state of the market and current laws. And some people said, hey, you got it needs to be rewritten. There's certain things that need to be changed. I think one of the main issues at the time that we were kind of somewhat aware of, but kind of had like this cognitive dissonance about, was the fact that it ultimately would have violated single subject, the single subject rule.
And the Supreme Court did, unfortunately pitch it out, by language.
Right. Not for that, but if they wouldn't have, kicked it out for the word limited, they would have definitely kicked it out for violating.
So in Florida, subject. Rudy, you probably know this, the constitutional amendments need to be single subject amendments, right?
And
so the wording, right.
So remember, so that's all relative, right? So they can get pretty creative with their assessments. So one of the most important things here this time, obviously, you can get behind something. We'll see a lot of advocates out there. You'll see a lot of groups and factions, right? And some of them splintered and fractured, so to speak. And they'll say, yeah, we support it. Yeah, absolutely, we support it. You'll see brand owners, you'll see company owners. They say we support it. Yes, home grow. We want that too. They'll share it on the internet. Maybe they'll mention it in an interview, but they don't really do anything to help get it passed. There's really no action, right? So
there's no benefit for them ultimately.
Without action, it's a bunch of hot air,
Yeah.
It's for lack of better words, if you don't put your money where your mouth is, it's bullshit. Like let's just call it what it is. If you don't put your money where your mouth is, you're full of it, right? So, there are people out there right now, big names in this industry that are saying, yeah, we support Regulate Florida. Yeah, we want the patient, all adults in this case, to be able to home grow and free the plant. And they've got millions, some of them hundreds of millions of dollars, but do we see action? Do we see them stepping up to the plate? No,
and they won't. I sincerely
smiling, right? They wave and they smile. Home grow, but there's no action. So I think one of the most important things this time was that we wanted to write an initiative that was absolutely, in our opinion, right, bulletproof, and was very tight and was streamlined, and we feel very confident that we can get more people behind this initiative this time, get more funding, right, which we've already seen, and I'll get to that in a moment. But we wanted to be absolutely sure that this did not violate the single subject rule, right? Because if we have all the money in the world right behind us, if we have all the signatures in the world, and it goes to the Supreme Court and they say, hey, violate single subject, you guys are talking about business and licensing here, and then also there's homegrown personal use. These are two totally separate things, right? Different public policy affects different parts of the law, right? Different parts of government are involved, right? So all the legal scholars, all of the people, the constitutional lawyers, all the people that we had review the Regulate Florida petition as we were writing it, right? Which was definitely not an overnight process. I mean, there was a lot of versions, there was a lot of edits and changes.
Over 1,000 nights, Chris,
Yeah,
hundreds of nights.
All of them, agreed. There was absolutely, a collective belief that, hey, if you try to put all this into one package, right? You put all this into one package under one roof, and you try to get it through the Supreme Court, there's no way it's happening, right? Absolutely just not going to happen. It may sound good, right? It may have all the best intentions, but if you go at it this time, if you make it live and it's got all this stuff about business and licensing and retail, and also you want to get home grow, it was kind of like we had to choose. We were put in a position where we had to choose. And for me, the choice is always going to be home grow,
And what we know, Chris, is that no matter what is voted on, we know there's going to be an implementation,
there has to be an
quote, process that's going to go on up in Tallahassee. So the point is, I think, is to swing the bat, right? And get that ball out there so that they, quite frankly, need to act. I'll be honest with you. As you know, I completely support the effort. And we'll talk about the petitions and where to sign them and what people can do and where to donate. And I know you're going that way. My point is the legislature, in my opinion, will somehow try to head this off, okay, which is why it's critical to do it quickly now, because given them, they would love delay, right? And they would love to keep things status quo, no doubt. So to me, the intricacies of the program are not quite as important as getting the initiative through, because Tallahassee is going to take a couple of years or whatever it is on top of that to put the system together, right? So I don't know. That's my humble opinion.
There's provisions for that. I mean, our initiative doesn't allow them to wait and for years to go by. I mean, that's one of the reasons.
No, that's why the initiative needs to pass, because if it doesn't pass, they'll wait.
Right.
So the point is, they're going to do what they're going to do.
I don't think we're going to get home grow without a citizens initiative. I mean,
I could not agree. I could not agree with you more.
In all honesty, I'm going to just shoot straight. People love me, hate me, whatever. You heard about me, you know me, whatever. People know that I'm going to give you the straight, just the nitty gritty on stuff. I think this is probably our last opportunity for home grow. I really, truly do. For a multitude of reasons, I think in 2024, there's going to be a much higher bar set. I mean, there was just a bill introduced to make initiative requirements almost 67% of the vote, and we're already
they keep trying to make that
for sure. And listen,
Sarasota County
for sure. And listen, it's the green room. We're political. Short of changing the top at the governor level and or a bunch of different House seats and Senate seats. I mean, let's face it. People say, why did New York get home grow? And because they had a Democratic, an entire different system. So we would have to change things politically. So,
but even with citizen initiatives, I mean, we see what happened. I mean, we can vote as people, and ultimately they
don't enact. They don't always enact. So, high speed rail down the middle of four.
And then, like Chris said, I mean, you can have some big players in the space with big bucks, and they're hot air, so they're not supporting any of those.
Yeah, it's been crickets out of the MMTCs, Chris. I didn't really think about it yet, and we're kind of early in the initiative, or are we not? You tell me where we're at on the funding, what's going on, where people can sign.
We have a lot more money. I can tell you this, we have a lot more money coming in. I mean, in the last week than we had during the entire previous, iteration of Regulate Florida. I mean, I think last week alone, in addition, obviously when we kicked off the campaign the first day, I wired $100,000 into the account. And that hit the account like that next Monday, we announced it. And I know just last week, like there was over $50,000 in donations that came in, and they're coming in, 5,000-10,000 at a time. Obviously there's small donations coming in, which, those make a difference. We actually just paid an invoice for $154,000 We just paid the invoice for the direct mailers. Now, we have a cohesive plan, right? So this isn't just, oh, hey, we're going to post it on the internet. Hey guys, let's get home grow. Let's get adult use, print it and sign it out, right? That's great. I mean, we're going to touch a lot of people. We're going to reach a lot of people through our advocacy and through our channels. But in order to collect real signatures, right, and for a campaign to truly be successful and for us to get the volume of signatures that we need, we're obviously going to require, some paid petitioning. But the lion's share, I believe, and seeing some of the recent efforts, from other groups are, direct mailers to the homes of registered voters. In our case, we have literally like 250,000 of them in the mail right now as we speak, which are going to be hitting registered voters' houses this week. And they are households that are registered voters, identified as being cannabis friendly. And we're even prepaying the postage, right? So we thought that out. There was an option, hey, prepaid, not prepaid. And, the board was like, well, what if we don't have the money? What if we don't have the funding to pay for the return postage? I think it's like 58 cents, something like that, because the cost of postage just went up. But, I was like, hey, we'll cover it. We'll cover it. I mean, look, I'm not living under a bridge, right? We're a cannabis company. I mean, we make money. We have a lot of products. We have some of the most popular strains in Florida, right? We're a brand, right? So we get a little piece of the pie, but we do have a piece of the pie, right? It's a big pie, right? There's a lot of companies and brands. I mean, Sunshine Cannabis as a brand, obviously we don't sell nearly as much as say True Leaf, right? True Leaf is, has the biggest slice. They're the biggest MMTC. They have the most locations. They're number one, right? For a reason. I think we can all agree on that. But we do sell a lot more products than the vast majority of the other MMTCs, right? So even though they may have a license, right, just their production is so low, a lot of people don't go there, so if you compare us, you compare Sunshine Cannabis to say, I would say like 90% of the actual MMTCs, we sell more products than they sell. So, that puts me in a position where we do have an income stream. I do want to invest it back into something where I can actually help people, right? So the easiest way for me to do that is to try to fund or at least partially fund something where I believe we do have an actual shot, like we do have a chance here, right? So, there are some other things out there that are very whimsical, maybe they were written a very long time ago by people with good intentions, right? And it's something that, they can put up on the internet. They can, hey, take a look at ours, Yeah, but ours gives you unlimited everything, right? And it's the pie in the sky, and the roads will be paved in golden pot leaves. I mean, that sounds great, right? It sounds great, right? In your mind, right? It's like a mind deal. It's like something. It's like they want it to happen. I want it to happen, right? Of course, I think things should be unlimited, right? I believe it's a God-given right. I think God put this plan here, but I think that the if we're realistic, right? If we're realistic and we're based in reality and making our decisions based on reality and what we can actually accomplish, right? As a community, and like what I'm going to put my money into, I want to put it into something
that's got to be done right.
That I believe has an actual opportunity, right? Has a chance to actually get approved by the Supreme Court, to actually get on the ballot, so that we're not all wasting our time and spinning our wheels and wasting our money. I mean, look, I could have paid.
When you're playing with the big boys, it's not a Facebook initiative. Okay. It's got to be concerted. And let's face it, we don't have a John Morgan. We don't have a John Morgan right now assisting us on this one.
Well, I mean, John Morgan is there. He's there. He's alive. He's watching. He's aware, I'm sure, of this. And
I just meant financially yet. And let's hope he does. Listen, I'll tell you what else is interesting to me.
I'm not going to rule it out.
I got it. And let me tell you what else is interesting to me. If you're going to buy a cannabis license in Florida right now, and you're coming in and you're investing 45 or 50 million, right. I mean, to me, the benefit of legal adult use to those companies that are now coming in, right. You would think it would be amongst their financial interest to get behind immediately this initiative.
They should be racing to write checks. And the thing is, we just kicked this campaign off, right? So let's we
got a few moments. Let's let everybody know what they can do and what to watch out for, the mailers and the whole bit.
I mean, obviously, if you want to read more, if you haven't already been there or heard about it, go to regulateflorida.com. You can print, sign the petition. You got to mail it in. Some people have said, hey, why can't I sign this online? Right? why can't I just click a button online? Oh, is this like change?
Oh, I don't think that I don't think the Republicans,
Right?
I know any initiative.
They won't
I
let
don't
you.
want to get political. I know, but we're not there yet.
We would have passed this a long time ago, right? We would have had those signatures a long time ago.
they make
I mean,
it
we would have 1
more
million
purpose.
signatures like in a week, you know? So no, so they actually require physical signatures. I think that's something important because we're seeing a lot of those questions, you know, like the response to this campaign has been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, of course, you've got the, you know, the regular, you know, your usual suspects out there, and they're like, oh, well, hey, I can't have 1 million plants. I'm not voting for that. You know, and then you have people that are like, oh, I don't get a free license dropped in my lap. I'm not going to vote for that. I mean, you know, you got to be realistic here. This initiative really benefits the maximum amount of people, right? Because we're not just trying to legalize home grow just for one little subset, right? We're not requiring you, hey, you got to be a patient, you got to pay hundreds of dollars a year, right? Now, we've got over 600,000 people in the medical program, right? It's grown beyond the original projection, right? The original projection by the state of Florida when they did the impact study, they thought there was going to be around 400. I think it actually was like 420,000 patients, right? That's the number. So we've already surpassed that, right? And it's still growing. It's growing by the day. It's growing by the week. So, you know, there's still a financial cost associated with that. I know that there are some incredible doctors out there that are very compassionate, that have, you know, very reasonable pricing.
It's
I know,
still
you know,
expensive.
right,
It's
but it's still
expensive
expensive.
between
There's
getting
still
the card and buying. It's very it outprices.
Right.
We get that complaint a lot. And I
Right.
mean, if we're talking about giving access, it should be it should be access. It really should be.
No.
Right.
access
So
to
access is
everybody who
key.
wants
That's the
it.
key
It
word.
is.
Access is key, right? So how do we give access to the maximum amount of people, right? How do you accomplish that? Like, what's the answer? Well, home grow is a great equalizer, right? Because there's nothing that costs less than growing your own, say, your own tomatoes, for instance, you know, or growing your own cannabis, right? And you know, like anything else, there's got to be guidelines, there's got to be limits, because we've got to get everyone to vote on this. We have to have, you know, Susie that doesn't believe in cannabis, right? And we have to have John, you know, the say he might be a Republican, he might have grown up in an era of prohibition, he may still believe in reefer madness, right? He may say, oh, I don't want those hippies growing weed out in the street. I don't want to see it down the highway, right? I don't want my kids smoking pot. I don't want fields of weed plants, right? So you got to be able to get these voters to vote yes on it. So again, we're, you know, our initiative is rooted in reality, right? It's not a mind deal. This is something that's very realistic. This is something that we can get on the ballot. This is something we can actually get in front of voters, and we can actually get passed. We're very confident. So right now, you know, we've got two enemies. We've got time, right? Time's always enemy, right? You can't stop time, right? So we're short on time. We do have enough time to get the signatures. We do, as of right now.
How many signatures are needed, Chris?
So we need over 800,000, right? So it goes up a little bit every year based on population. The rules change a little bit from the first round. We actually need over 200,000 now to reach Supreme Court review. I can tell you the response, though, just in the first couple days of launching the campaign, Michael Minardi's law office is absolutely been deluged. I mean, he's got a deluge of mail, and he sent us pictures in my little group text with him and Karen Goldstein in Normal, Florida. I mean, he's got piles already of signed petitions. So they're pouring in. It's something that people want. You know, people are excited about home grow. What this petition does not do, right? It has nothing to do with retail. It has nothing to do with licenses. It has no framework or provisions for recreational sales, right? For anybody, right? For the big bad wolf, you know, the MMTCs. It doesn't have any provisions for retail or recreational sales for the little guy, for me, right? There's nothing to do with recreational retail sales. This is not a recreational retail initiative. This is a single subject streamlined petition to legalize home grow, right? That's what this is. This is a home grow petition, cultivation. And in order to make that legal, right, you can't grow it if you're not allowed to have it and use it, right? So that's one of the reasons we feel very confident, because these two things, you know, although they may sound like different things, right? Some people maybe who aren't that familiar with cannabis laws, right, or the nuances of cannabis and the things that go into it, right? You may even have attorneys out there that would say, oh no, that's not single subject, but in reality, you have to have the two. You know, they're enjoined. They're dependent upon each other, because without the adult use, you can't grow the plant and use it, you know? And in our petition, without the home grow, right, you can't buy it. So where are you going to get it from? Right? Let's just call it what it is. So this initiative is not a open the floodgates, everything's legal for everyone, we're going to all have 1 million licenses and we're going to have pot plants down the street. No, that's not what this is. This is home grow for all adults 21 plus. It allows 9 plants, right? It's higher than almost all the other states, and you're allowed 18 plants per household. Right?
No,
So,
that's a great explanation, Chris.
Right.
Fantastic, and I think really helpful.
The truth is easy.
And I think what we need right now in the campaign, and I don't know who that is, but we really need a good spokesman that can explain these type of things, quite frankly, in that manner, because I think there is a lack of understanding exactly about the initiative. And listen,
well, the only thing is like, and because I ran for office, I think you guys are smart enough to know you have a roster of patients from the OMMU. You have physicians who have access to, you're talking 600,000 signatures right there. So you only need 200,000 more than those that are already in the system, because I assure you, if we put out the petitions, and I think we'll talk about this after, to put them out, to have people sign them and mail them into you guys.
Right.
And we'll put it up on our website. I mean, you do have the power of the physicians who have the 600,000 patients behind
For sure.
this. And I assure you, if not 100% of the majority would be for home grow.
Yeah.
So,
and listen, time is never on our side because we're late getting out of the green room.
I know, but we have to wrap it up. But at least we'll put our website up, and we'll talk about maybe
For sure.
some of the petitions.
What is the timing on the petition campaign, Chris? How urgent is it that people really get involved now? And what is the timing to the extent of the petition campaign?
Urgency. I mean, urgency is now. Don't wait. I got 3 points to make. So right off the jump, right? I mean, obviously I don't have to tell everybody. I think everybody knows this. Like, Kim is outspoken. Kim Rivers of Trulieve she's always been outspoken about supporting home grow, right? So when we launched this, she immediately, she knew about it, right? I kind of kept her aware in the background, like, hey, we're going to be doing a home grow petition. I need Trulieve support. And she said, hey, we're going to support it. We're going to do everything we can. Immediately they got them printed out. They're in all the Trulieve stores right now. So I think there are 91 locations, I believe, and growing. So right now, if you go to Trulieve, right, and we've got some other MMTCs coming on board, but right now, I mean, as of the first week of the campaign, we all got on a phone call. They said, hey, we're going to get them printed immediately. You guys don't got to send them to us. We're not going to wait. We're going to get them out in the dispensaries.
Awesome.
And they're there. So even if you're not a patient, right, even if you don't go to Trulieve, right, which most people do, but if you don't, you can go to Trulieve, stop by, you can fill it out in the front lobby. And what they're doing, they're actually, they're assisting us, and people are free to go in there and sign, even if you're not a medical patient. You can't go in the back, right, where the medicine is, but you can go in the front lobby. So most people have a Trulieve by them. So get to a Trulieve, you can sign the petition right now. The second point is, we are seeing an interest from MMTCs. I mean, this is literally like the second week of the campaign, right? So this is brand new, right? We're at the tip of a speeding bullet right now. Like, it just, this was just fired. This is like brand new. This just came out. There's still people who haven't read it. They don't know what it does. They hear
that's why you're in the green room today, Chris.
They hear Regulate Florida. They don't know. Oh, hey, I remember the old Regulate Florida was very long and complicated. There was all these different things they were trying to do, and we did, we fought very hard. I put more money than anyone into the first one, and we were trying to, change the licensing and, reinvent the wheel and, save the dolphins. I mean, we wanted to do everything in that, but looking at it now, in 2021, I co-authored this new version, most of the cultivation stuff. Michael Minardi, who's an incredible advocate. Obviously, he's the #1 cannabis lawyer in Florida, arguably one of the best in the country. He's the chairman, right? He's the chairman of Regulate Florida. You've got Karen Goldstein, who is, needs no introduction. She is an absolute angel. The things she's done for the movement, the amount of her life, right? Her time, her energy that she puts into advocacy and activism. Karen Goldstein she's an incredible.
For sure. Love her.
And she's the co-chair, right? So she's the co-chair. I'm one of the directors of the board. David Rackhauer of the Game of Zonk. And he also has a couple other, other things he does and brands. I know he's been heavily involved in trying to get, masks and protective gear out to medical, health facilities and hospitals during COVID.
Keep pulling that rope, man.
We've got it. We've got a strong team.
Give us your third.
we've got
Give
a
us your third point.
Yeah, give us
The-
your third, because we have to actually.
Okay,
I
well,
got a
my
patient
third
that's
point-
going to wait for me though.
My
Yeah, for
third
sure.
point, third point is we need your support, right? So go to regulateflorida.com.
Okay.
You can read the full text of the petition, right? There's the one you sign, and then there's the full version. But in closing, this is going to give every adult in Florida legalized adult use, right? So you're not going to go to jail for possessing cannabis anymore. You're going to be able to legally use cannabis, and you're going to be able to grow 9 plants per person, 18 per household. It's going to change the Constitution, and we want to free the plant. That's the goal.
Awesome. And I just want to go back to when I asked you about how you got in. It was friends that you lost, Chris. You know what's destroying society in today's society, and it's surely not that miracle plant. Keep doing what you do.
So everybody go to regulateFlorida.com.
Go to regulate.
See you next week. Chris, thank you for awesome show. We have
Yes.
to wrap.
I know we do.
We got signals like 10 times. Thank you very much.
Be blessed. Free the plant, Florida.
Have a great day.